What's up, everybody? My name is Megan. Welcome back to my channel, to all of you who are returning subscribers. But if this is your first time joining me on today, welcome. Happy New Year to all. I feel like I'm tripping because in my mind, 2020 was like 15 minutes ago. And here we are in 2023. But I digress. So in today's video, I am going to be talking about Gangsta Boo. As many of you know, Gangsta Boo passed away on January the 1st. And if you are not familiar with her, she basically was a founding member of 3-6 Mafia. And that's the Texas, did I say Texas? Why was I thinking about Texas? Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee rap group. They were real big in the 90s, 2000s, that kind of thing. So if you're into UGK, MJG, usually 3-6 Mafia, somewhere up in that. So yeah, she definitely was a part of that. And I mean, I loved her. She was most recently on couples therapy with her partner. And it was just really sad to see her story end like this. It kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. So, first and foremost, my well wishes and thoughts with her family, her loved ones, and anybody who knew her or was inspired by her or admired her. I would like to preface this celebrity natal chart reading by saying that I am not a psychic. Therefore, I do not tap into other people's energy. I'm not a medium. When I do these natal chart readings, they are literally just a personality, psychological profile, so to speak. And there's no appropriate time to read somebody's natal chart. Every now and then when I do celebrity natal chart readings on the deceased, especially the more recently deceased, you get a couple comments where it's like, why are you doing this? And that's no integrity, bitch. Go find a channel where this argument actually applies. Go somewhere and become more educated before you just start dropping comments that have nothing to do with what it is that I do here on this channel. Save yourself the time, the embarrassment, and save me the energy because I'm going to block your ass. You know what I'm saying? So, why we got to do all that, baby? Why we got to do all that? So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. So, Gangsta Boo was born August 7, 1979 in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, we do not know her time of birth. So, as always, please do not take these house placements literally, because we do not know her ascendant sign. Your ascendant sign is what is directly produced from your time of birth. So it could change based on whenever you were born in terms of the time. Therefore, if we do not have an accurate time, we don't want to bank on that because that could be subject to change, all right? But we can safely deduce a couple of things. So first things first, I noticed with her being born on the 7th, that number 7 is ruled by Neptune. And by and large, carries a lot of overlapping similarities with her Pisces South Node. Now, Pisces, the natural ruler of the 12th house, is also co-ruled by Neptune. Now, on one hand, this could produce a lot of creativity in a person. These are individuals who, it's not uncommon to see a lot of actors, actresses, musicians with this lunar nodal placement or with prominent Piscean 12th house energy. These are people who do really well when it comes to conveying a lot of, that creative energy and then being able to benefit from it in some sort of way, especially professionally. However, as many people know, the music industry or artistry for a very long time has been very much interwoven with drugs, alcohol, vices. Even when you look at this on an individual level, a lot of artists in Hollywood, a lot of famous actors, actresses, and people have often dabbled in intoxicants and other influences, or who could have even substance abuse problems. Anybody could have substance abuse problems, but you can see where a lot of times there is a direct correlation there in terms of, that industry. And that's because my theory is that a lot of these people, specifically when we talk about creatives, they get a lot of their creativity, or maybe they're able to express it a lot more freely when they are under the influence, especially depending on whatever their drug of choice may be. All right. Now, obviously, everybody with Pisces on the South Node or people with 7 energy, you don't have to be an addict. You don't have to even partake in drugs or alcohol. But the likelihood that these people could be, or even if they are, the extent into which they engage in these behaviors and addiction could definitely be a lot more pronounced. When Pisces is on the South Node in particular, the addictive kind of tendencies that these individuals could have are very much deeply ingrained. So you could even look at this if you do believe in past life experiences, where maybe in a past life, these individuals could have struggled with addiction. And that's another different variation in the way that the South Node could express itself. Because even if you don't necessarily identify with this trait in this lifetime, maybe in a past life, you had these kind of tendencies, or this was the story or the narrative, right? But there is this predisposition with Pisces on the South Node to escape, right? The South Node is our comfort zone. So these people feel, and obviously this could be due to trauma or a variety of different circumstances where people may have grown up feeling like being elsewhere was a more preferable state of existence, right? That escapist mentality. Maybe even some cases, you could say this is a form of avoidance, but I would say Scorpio is also avoidance based. But it's almost like where one's even grip on reality could not be fully secured. Pisces South Nodes tend to lean onto substances as a means of coping. They can have a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms and just vices in general that they use to make themselves feel good. And for obvious reasons, this could create a host of different issues. Pisces also deals with imprisonment, confinement, and maybe even hospitalization. Did I say that word right? Hospitalization. Why was that so fucking hard for me to say? Shout out to Neptune in the 3rd house. Anywho, because of this, you could obviously make the connection that depending on how deep these people are trenched in addiction, they may very well have to encounter being in some of these places long term. So, for example, a Pisces South Node could absolutely be in a situation where, due to an addiction of some sort, maybe they have to go to rehab. Maybe they end up overdosing and theoretically have to go to the hospital. Okay. Or maybe they go to jail. These are all themes that are also very much connected with whether it be specifically drug usage, but even if we're talking about like alcohol, maybe in a different chart, someone with Pisces on the South Node could very well end up getting a DUI. And of course, I'm not really speaking to Gangsta Boo in her chart right here, but I'm just drawing the connection as a whole so you guys can kind of get a better understanding of it. Now, as it pertains to Gangsta Boo, of course, this Pisces South Node could theoretically, right, validate the rumor that her death was due to an overdose. But I feel like we would have to dig a little bit deeper. But we can safely deduce that this, from a karmic standpoint, was where a lot of her addictive problems and issues battling substances derived from. With her having her Saturn at the 13th degree Virgo conjoined to her North Node, this could be indicative of some long-term health problems and complications that came as a result of drug usage. This could also theoretically speak to where, in this lifetime, Gangsta Boo was supposed to be a person who honed her craft, who spent more time honing her craft. With Pisces on the South Node, of course, she could have had a lot of artistic capability, right? We can deduce that she was very talented, all of that good stuff. But when you have Virgo on the North Node, you have to take those natural gifts and things that you may be good at, or maybe even the life that you dream about, right? Because Pisces rules dreams, and actually put it into application, especially with Saturn conjoined to the North Node. That's like needing to be disciplined, needing to get your act together, straightening up, being able to work. So she may have been somebody who didn't even have really good work ethic, which I would argue may have impacted the trajectory of her career, because although obviously she's a GOAT, she's an icon, right? She's one of the founding foremothers of rap, but I don't think she was as big as she could have been. And a lot of times she was overshadowed by the male members of her group. Everybody knows, for the most part, Juicy J. Everybody, for the most part, knows Paul Wall. Wait, is his name Paul Wall? DJ Paul. Why am I confusing these folks with Texas rappers? It's the Paul for me. But you get my point, right? DJ Paul is a dog when you do not trust. So yeah, in addition to her work ethic not really being up to par, and that being something that could have inevitably hurt her in terms of her career, Saturn on the North Node a lot of times does require that you have a lot of patience and put a lot of time in. And so Saturn in Virgo at that, it's like learning how to perfect what you got going on over time, finding ways to get better at what you do and just churning out work. So this could have been somebody who showed up late to the studio, or, just really wasn't on their P's and Q's like that. And maybe that could have come from, this kind of princess mentality too, which is actually very common for those with Pisces on the South Node. She has her Neptune at the 17th degree of Sagittarius, and that could definitely speak to a person who could also kind of get like a God complex or feel very high, like think very highly of themselves. This could also even be indicative in terms of substance issues of someone who just takes it too far. They don't really know when to quit, a person who could just kind of take it and go overboard, which could also theoretically lay the foundation for like an overdose. She also has her Neptune square in Saturn. So that reinforces like themes of self-sabotage. Once again, her just not really doing good business. And this could even be like to her own doing, but sometimes it could even be because of what somebody did to her, and that reinforces that Pisces South Node theme of victimization. That square between her Saturn at the 13th degree of Virgo and Neptune could be her being cheated or swindled out of something, especially if we're talking about like business-wise, maybe legally speaking. She also has, with that Saturn Virgo North Node conjunction, it really speaks to a person where it's like a lot of things that will happen to them could serve as like a really big reality check, where they need a big reality check. And this could be as it pertains to, once again, her career, but also, once again, her health. And, the nature of cause and effect, or the law of cause and effect, can be a very dominant theme in their lives. And a lot of times they are punished for what they don't do. When we talk about Saturn near the North Node, and this could be applicable to a lot of my Capricorn North Nodes as well. So y'all got to be mindful of that. She has her Saturn trine in Chiron in Taurus. That could deal with her kind of receiving favoritism, or having some type of favoritism, receiving that type of treatment, I guess you could say, or being someone's favorite. And that could actually make it easy for a person. Another aspect that can make it easy for a person to just feel like they don't really have to just show up and earn their fair share. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to like work and professionally. But she also has her Neptune trining her Sun in Leo, as well as that Jupiter in Leo, which could also have been very beneficial in terms of her, gaining some sort of fame by way of the music industry and notoriety. Now, Gangsta Boo does have a death aspect. And of course, this is not to say everybody with this exact aspect is going to die, but I would be remiss if I didn't point it out and call it for what it was. She has her sun at the 14th degree of Leo, squaring Uranus at the 16th degree of Scorpio. Y'all know that infamous number 16 oftentimes is linked to tragedy or just really unfortunate circumstances. It could deal with illness, but within this context, as it's attached to that Uranus and Scorpio, squaring her sun in Leo, could deal with death, like a sudden death, like unexpected death. And this may have also played out by way of certain circumstances in her life. So losing a father unexpectedly, losing a child. This could even be like an abortion aspect, or I would say more maybe like a miscarriage or something. But still, losing the men in her life, where men were very prominent in her life. And that could have been the result of that, Same thing with her Venus at the 9th degree of Leo squaring her Uranus as well. So her being somebody who could have suffered a lot of losses, losing, friends and stuff like that. But, this could also point to this Sun-Venus square that's happening to Uranus and Scorpio could even deal with where she may have underwent some sort of trauma. And this could be sexual-based trauma. And that's just the extent to which I'm going to leave that there. But, it makes a lot of sense when we talk about addictions, things that are unhealthy like that. More often than not, they're triggered by some sort of trauma. So she definitely has a chart that could point to her, growing up in some not so great circumstances, just being real, or where she could have just lived kind of like a hard life. She also has that Leo Sun, Aquarius Moon opposition, which I thought was really interesting because this is the exact same Sun-Moon combination as Glorilla. Okay, she's co-signed Glorilla, and Glorilla gives a lot of that. She gives a lot of that in-your-face kind of energy where it's not traditional femininity that's being presented, where a lot of times these women, and I talked about this being very common in a lot of fire sign women in general, showing up in a way where it's like, quote unquote, alpha female kind of energy, or where, it can be very intimidating to men because of how they show up. They can carry themselves in a way that could be very closely aligned to men, or the way that society thinks that men should be, put it like that. And I remember on couples therapy, what I did see of her relationship with her boyfriend, they were talking about how she like emasculates him and how she was very abusive to him. And I could actually very much see that with that Sun-Moon opposition. Okay. But even with her just being a Leo stellium like that, I could totally see that. But that's neither here nor there. That Mars at the 29th degree of Gemini could also be very problematic in terms of possibly being indicative of abuse. Especially with it forming a semi-square to her sun. So that could be trauma involving, relatives. This could be fathers, cousins, siblings. Her Mars is also forming a semi-square to Chiron, quite literally being traumatized by a relative. Once again, I'm going to leave it at that because I think y'all already know where I'm going with this. Whatever, that's not totally what I was here to talk about. But, theoretically, I can see where she may have overdosed. I mean, the details are not official yet, but, she does have a chart where it's plausible, right? Where her death could have been due to, drugs or some sort of condition or something that was triggered by drug use or substance use. Even when we talk about that Sun-Uranus square, okay, Leo rules the heart. So that square between her Sun and Uranus and Scorpio could even deal with where a person could have some type of cardiac event, like where there could be an issue with the way the valves in her heart pump blood, or, something that could accidentally make your heart stop or something. So it's really interesting to see, but I'm going to go ahead and leave this video where it's at. I didn't really want to get too in-depth with it, but rest in peace, Gangsta Boo. Y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about this whole situation and what do you think about her chart. Let me know. And make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Bye.